They said they'd broken it for years. While the generals testified, Iran was already rebuilding. Drones back in production, missiles still in range, and a ceasefire that may have bought Tehran exactly what it needed. Washington told Congress one story. Its own intelligence was telling another. The Iranians have exceeded all timelines. While Washington was telling Congress the war had crippled Iran for years, US intelligence was telling a very different story. According to new US intelligence assessments cited by CNN reported on May 20th, Iran has already restarted parts of its drone production network just weeks after US and Israeli strikes targeted its military infrastructure. Iran restarted drone production during the 6-week ceasefire and is reconstituting its military capabilities far faster than American intelligence agencies initially projected. The findings put the administration's public statements about the war's success in direct conflict with what its own intelligence community was seeing on the ground. CENTCOM Commander Admiral Brad Cooper testified this week that US operations had destroyed 90% of Iran's defense industrial base and ensured Tehran could not rebuild for years.
First, Operation Midnight Hammer significantly degraded Iran's nuclear program. And second, Operation Epic Fury significantly degraded Iran's ballistic missiles and drones while destroying 90% of their defense industrial base, ensuring that Iran cannot reconstitute for years. And then finally, Iran spent decades and billions of dollars arming proxies. Today, Hamas, Hezbollah, and the Houthis are cut off from Iran's weapons supply and support. Said a different way, American military action derailed Iran's strategy that was 47 years in the making.
But intelligence officials speaking to CNN disputed that timeline, saying the damage may only delay Iran's military recovery by months rather than years. The faster-than-expected rebuilding is partly attributed to continued support from Russia and China. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu had also previously blamed China for supplying components of missile manufacturing to Iran. The intelligence assessments also warn that Iran remains capable of threatening Israel and Gulf states if fighting resumes. Tehran still retains large numbers of drones, cruise missiles, and air defense systems, while its coastal missile batteries continue to pose a threat to shipping traffic through the Strait of Hormuz. One source said the damage to Iran's defense industrial base has set its reconstitution back by a matter of months, not years. Some of that base remains intact, which could accelerate the timeline further. A US official put it plainly.
The Iranians have exceeded all timelines the IC had for reconstitution.
The intelligence paints a picture of an Iran that was damaged but not broken. Drone production is the most immediate concern. Intelligence estimates suggest Iran could fully reconstitute that capability within 6 months. If hostilities resume, Iran can compensate for degraded missile production by launching greater numbers of drones at Israel and Gulf states, both well within range. Trump has repeatedly threatened to restart the bombing campaign if no deal is reached on Iran's nuclear program, saying publicly on May 19th that he had been an hour from ordering new strikes. The intelligence his commanders are quietly sitting on suggests that if and when that moment comes, they will not be facing the same Iran they struck in February. Taken together, the intelligence reports suggest the US-Israeli campaign significantly damaged Iran's military infrastructure, but failed to eliminate it. For months, the Trump administration has told the American public that Iran's military was finished. Classified intelligence suggests otherwise. According to secret assessments obtained by the New York Times, Iran has restored operational access to 30 of its 33 missile sites along the Strait of Hormuz. The Islamic Republic still fields roughly 70% of its mobile launchers and has held on to approximately 70% of its pre-war missile stockpile. Underground storage and launch facilities across the country are now assessed to be 90% accessible, partially or fully operational.
Trump and his military advisors overestimated the damage that the U.S. military could inflict on Iranian missile sites, and underestimated Iran's resilience and ability to bounce back.
This is not what Washington has been saying publicly. On March 9th, 10 days into the war, Trump told CBS News that Iran's missiles were down to a scatter and the country had nothing left in a military sense. On April 8th, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth declared at a Pentagon press conference that Operation Epic Fury had decimated Iran's military and rendered it combat ineffective for years to come. The intelligence cited by The Times is dated less than a month after that press conference.
Iran has regained access to roughly 90% of its underground missile storage and launch facilities nationwide, which are now assessed to be partially or fully operational.
The White House did not accept the findings. Spokeswoman Olivia Wales said anyone who thinks Iran has reconstituted its military is either delusional or a mouthpiece for the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps. The Pentagon went further.
It is so disgraceful that the New York Times and others are acting as public relations agents for the Iranian regime in order to paint Operation Epic Fury as anything other than a historic accomplishment.
But the intelligence points to a specific tactical miscalculation. When American forces struck Iran's hardened missile facilities, the Pentagon opted to seal off entrances rather than destroy entire sites, partly because stocks of bunker-busting munitions were limited. Officials said planners also needed to preserve some of those weapons for potential conflict with North Korea and China. The costs of the campaign are now adding up. The US expended roughly 1,100 long-range stealth cruise missiles, more than 1,000 Tomahawk missiles, and over 1,300 Patriot interceptors during the war. Replenishing those stockpiles, officials acknowledge, will take years. And for Iran, for whom mere survival would have been a victory, this sounds like way more than just a win. The ceasefire between the United States and Iran is hanging by a thread after nuclear talks collapsed over the weekend. In the latest round of threats going back and forth, Iranian Parliament Speaker Mohammad Bagher Ghalibaf, who led Iran's negotiating team in Islamabad last month, was blunt.
Our armed forces are ready to deliver a well-deserved response to any aggression. Mistaken strategy and mistaken decisions will always lead to mistaken results. The whole world has already figured this out. We are prepared for all options. They will be surprised.
The warning came after Iran refused to budge on its nuclear program over the weekend, submitting a counter-proposal Trump called a piece of garbage. The ceasefire, he said, was on massive life support. According to Iran, though, America has very few options.
There is no alternative but to accept the rights of the Iranian people as laid out in the 14-point proposal. Any other approach will be completely inconclusive, nothing but one failure after another. The longer they drag their feet, the more American taxpayers will pay for it.
Behind closed doors, Trump's aides reportedly considered more lethal options to try and cope with the Pout's growing frustration with the Persians. Two senior US officials told CNN that Trump was now weighing a return to military strikes, with one quoted as saying, Trump is going to hit them a bit.
Trump has grown impatient with the continued closure of the Strait of Hormuz, as well as what he perceives as division in Iranian leadership that is preventing them from making substantial concessions on nuclear talks.
On May 11th, Trump gathered his national security team in the White House Situation Room with Vice President J.D. Vance, Secretary of State Marco Rubio, and Secretary of War Pete Hegseth among those present. No decision was expected before Trump's departure to Beijing on May 12th, where pressing China to help break the deadlock was firmly on the agenda. The Treasury moved in step, sanctioning 12 individuals and companies on May 11th for helping Iran ship oil to China, while the State Department offered up to $15 million for information on the financial networks of Iran's Revolutionary Guard Corps. For now, the Strait of Hormuz stays shut, oil prices keep climbing, and with diplomacy stalled, Washington and Tehran are now measuring their next moves carefully.